we're going to watch a video of a passenger's experience with Waymo. I wish I was in a city that had this,
The
but I'm
economy,
not. So I have to watch other people's videos of it.
So, how's your day going today?
I'm sitting in the back of Google's self-driving car in San Francisco. This is not coming soon, it's actually here.
It's already here. You can order it. And if you're in Phoenix, you can order it through the Uber app instead of a human driver.
The app just opening up to the public.
My favorite feature on this new self-driving car around San Francisco is...
And it's everywhere around San Francisco. Impossible to go 5 minutes in this city without seeing one. It's also being used in Los Angeles and Arizona too.
The best part, you don't need to tip.
Los Angeles, Arizona, San Francisco. It's coming to Miami and it's coming to Atlanta next. There's gonna be 5 cities.
Companies have poured billions of dollars to get to this moment. Millions of jobs will be lost to AVs.
And again, the doomsday for self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles, it's replacing all of the drivers. The doomsday is there are enough self-driving cars in a particular market to make it unprofitable for a driver to continue driving.
That's autonomous vehicles.
All right, let's see. Let's go through this intersection.
But I have so many questions I need answers to.
Uber is suspending its self-driving car operations.
A self-driving car being pulled over by police in San Francisco.
Waymo driverless car clipped a bicyclist. Another crash involving Waymo.
Who is liable?
So all those Waymo accidents they just talked about, to the best of my knowledge, are all here in this study. 2 bodily injury claims still open and 9 property damage. But a human driver for that same distance, 78 property damage, 26 bodily injury claims. We're talking about Waymos that do 150,000 rides per week. And this is it. It's not bad.
When a self-driving car crashes into someone? Can these cars be hacked? And what happened in a Chinese city where these cars have already become the norm?
So there have been reports about people actually taking Waymos late at night and having sex in the vehicles because there is no human, so anything can go, right? That's probably not a good idea because there are cameras everywhere in this vehicle. Even when you call support, the first thing they're gonna do is look at you and see you in real time. So can you see us right now?
We have cameras situated across the vehicle.
Download the Waymo app and it's just like ordering an...
So I do think that in cities where you can't order Waymo through Uber and you have to use the Waymo app, I think that they're gonna have a harder time growing. But the people that do use the Waymo app are probably like significantly less likely to go back to human drivers, right? Whereas in Phoenix, where you could choose between the human or choose between the self-driving car, there's more of a chance for them to go back towards the human, even though it's harder for them to go towards the AV with just the Waymo app. But someone who has downloaded the Waymo app, set it up, they're more likely to stay on the Waymo app than compared to the Phoenix example.
Uber, except it's not.
So I can already see it. It has my initials on it. Wow, it even stops for me. If this was a human driver, I could have just said, hey, it's me, and gotten in, but it's not that smart. So the only way to actually open the door is actually on the app. All right, so now I'm gonna hit unlock.
So that's cool, but also inconvenient. If someone's chasing you down, you gotta pull out your phone to try to safely get in the car. I don't know, it's a little weird, but you also don't want the wrong person getting into the car, so I can understand that as well.
And it also says the car will only wait up to a couple minutes, and then there's a timer. So let's get in, let's test this out.
I'm just calling because I received a notification from the vehicle. I'm just checking, is everything all right?
Yeah, everything is fine. My friend was just getting in the car, and we're ready to start. All good.
You can sit in the front seat without your driver complaining.
Thank you for confirming that. If there's nothing else,
Are you in San Francisco?
the call has been routed to one of Waymo's satellite offices.
Oh, I see. So can you see
One of Waymo's satellite offices. So she doesn't even say if she's in America or not.
us right now?
Yeah, we have cameras situated across the vehicle just to make sure that we have a good view of the riders.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. I'm gonna hit start ride. Oh my God, this is so crazy. We just pulled into oncoming traffic and there's no human in the seat. And it's like crazy. My brain is going crazy right now. This is absolutely insane. And on top of all that, they play ambient music right when you get in, maybe to calm you down, but it's kind of working. Those first few minutes of riding as a passenger without a driver is crazy. It feels actually terrifying. We're going into the center of the intersection without a human, and never in your life have you done something like this. Your brain
To the best of my knowledge, you can actually like play your own music through their car, someone said, but I haven't obviously verified that myself.
is telling you don't do this. But after probably 5 or at most 10 minutes, the opposite has occurred with me. I actually feel like I really trust this thing, maybe even more than a human driver, which is crazy to say, but that's kind of what's happening. I mean, you see how eloquently it navigates, you see all the data it has, and you kind of get really comfortable riding in this, and you can kind of start to see how quickly self-driving cars have the potential to take over the world. No.
So this is that thing I'm talking about. Earlier, when we first started, I mentioned how some people say, oh, they ask their drivers if they'll ever take a self-driving, their passengers, if they'll ever take a self-driving car. And they're like, no, right? All it's going to take is one good instance for them to do it, right? Where Waymo, when they launch in a new city, they start for free, right? So when they launch in Atlanta and Miami, in order to get that data and to get that training, they're going to get free rides. Now, someone who's skeptical about self-driving cars, who is strapped for cash, they don't have their own car, they need to get to work, they want to save some money, they might be willing to try it. And then once they do try it, if their experience is similar to this guy who tried it for his first time, you can see how quickly he started to think, what? This is starting to feel a little more convenient than a human driver. But let's continue.
Away. Wow. You would think it would go kind of slow and precautious, but it actually drives like a human driver, which is good. You don't want it to be too slow or timid. You got to kind of be a little bit bold when you drive. Otherwise, that could cause disturbances or accidents. And at all times, you can see whatever is within a perimeter of you. Way in front, way to the left. Like, it's actually fascinating that it can know how many cars are to the left. Look at this car. It's stuck in the middle of the intersection,
comforting.
but that doesn't stop us from going. We even maneuvered around it a little bit. It's also super interesting. So sometimes you're sitting at a red light and you're getting a little impatient, so you ease your foot off the brake just a little bit before it goes green. This car does that. And there's no practical reason for it to do that. But my guess is it's doing that to mimic human behavior. Whether you're driving or sitting in the passenger seat, that's what we do as humans. The experience is meant to feel like you're with a human. Oh, it knows it needs to go to the right lane, so it's trying to decide when it can actually feasibly do that. It seems a bit.
So to his point, right? If all the Waymos are, if he enjoys the smoothness of the Waymo and all the Waymos have that smoothness, the problem will be that with human drivers, we all drive differently. Some people drive really bad from what I've heard. And if you're able to get consistency, people love consistency. People love lack of change. So if you're able to get a lack of change by ordering a Waymo, it's going to make you more likely to order a Waymo, right? Versus you're playing Russian roulette when it comes to drivers. You don't know if you're going to get some guy. Women have to worry about feeling safe. Women have to worry about getting hit on. There are different things that you have to worry about every single time you order a ride with Uber or Lyft. It's Russian roulette. If Waymos can get rid of some of that problematic things for passengers, and every single time those things will be gone, and you might have to sacrifice elsewhere, why wouldn't they choose this?
Bit stressed. So you see that? It's like we need to go to the right. Wow, this is crazy. We're not even fully in the lane because the bus was like kind of coming into our lane. So we kind of maneuvered out without hitting that guy. It's actually really fascinating. This thing is extremely smart.
Waymo has huge ambitions. It's expanding fast with more than 700 cars on the road, and 300 of them are here in San Francisco.
So we said earlier, based off of how many rides they've taken total, each car has averaged 200 plus rides per week on average. One car. They have 700, and I don't know if you've missed it, but they partnered with Hyundai for Hyundai to make them more cars. And they also have a cheaper car that they're working on as well from China. And they have the factory that's going to produce the cars that has already started producing cars for them in Georgia.
This is one of the many parking lots where Waymos will come to charge. And what's really cool is that they know to charge themselves. If their battery is low, they just stop what they're doing, head over to a charging station and come and charge up.
Waymo is now testing out vans known as Zeekr, which is more spacious.
This is the cheaper Chinese van that it's estimated to be around, I think it was $25,000. Pretty cheap.
And it could help people get around one day. But it also still faces a ton of challenges, like people vandalizing its cars or putting cones in front of them and around them just to mess with the vehicles and prevent them from doing their job. Google is not the only company in this space. See, Uber once saw autonomous vehicles as the future of transportation.
I think he's about to go into that lady that got killed as a result of this.
Over $1 billion in developing self-driving technology, aiming to disrupt the ride-sharing industry. And the goal was clear: replace human drivers with AI.
By the way, if you're enjoying this video, subscribe to this channel because I'm making more videos just like this about tech, economics, and more.
But in 2018, an Uber autonomous vehicle struck and killed a pedestrian in Arizona.
A self-driving car hitting and killing a woman. It is a first right here on our Valley Street.
That brought the challenges and risks into focus. See, the crash involved a Volvo SUV that had Uber's self-driving system. There was a human safety driver behind the wheel, but they weren't paying close attention to the
She was watching, I think, Judge Judy, if I remember correctly.
Road, and the pedestrian died. The driver was ultimately charged with negligent homicide and would even be given jail time. In 2021, Uber sold its self-driving division to Aurora for a crazy $4 billion. Today, Uber still has an interest in autonomous vehicles, but it's taking a more cautious approach. And then there's Cruise. Cruise is
the cautious approach is that it's offloading the risk to different companies. They're not doing it themselves anymore. And Cruise is no longer a threat, guys. Cruise is bowed out of the market. And in fact, we'll quickly, I don't know, like, let's talk about it today. Cruise stops self-driving. All right, paywall. So Cruise is owned by GM. It says General Motors said on Tuesday it will end a robotaxi development and its majority-owned, money-losing Cruise business, a blow to the ambitions of the largest U.S. automaker, which had made the advanced technology unit a top priority. It's crazy that someone who makes cars and could probably do this cheaply couldn't figure it out. The Detroit-based car company said it would no longer fund work on self-driving robotaxis, given the considerable time and resources that would be needed to scale the business, along with an increasing competitive robotaxi market. Sounds like Waymo and Tesla made them shrink. The automaker has invested more than $10 billion in Cruise since 2016. Cruise will be folded into its group working on driver assistant technology. The move comes on the heels of GM scaling back plans for electric vehicles, settling its stake in one of its joint ventures, battery plants, and reconstructing its China business, leaving the company more focused on its profitable business of making gasoline-powered pickup trucks and other large vehicles. All right, sounds like they just couldn't crack the code. As rideshare drivers, we should be rooting for this. We should be hoping that Google follows suit and bows out, that Tesla can't really get it done. But GM's failure isn't representative of Waymo's failure or of Tesla's failure. They're doing things differently. But it is odd to see. I think what's really driving Google to be successful is their implementation of software and how they do their self-driving car stuff, and not so much the cost of the vehicle, or that Google's in a position to subsidize the cost of the vehicle in a way that GM isn't able to do so, even though they manufacture their own cars. Most of Google's income comes from software, which has a much lower overhead, versus most of GM's income probably comes from selling of actual cars, which probably has a much higher overhead and thinner margins. So Waymo probably has more money to play with because of their parent company. And then we'll just have to see what Tesla does. Tesla has a lot of data already, so they kind of have the Google part of it, and they just got to get the hardware out there. So we'll see. Let's go back to the video.
A self-driving car company that was founded in 2013, but then acquired by GM in 2016 for a reported $1 billion. The company's valuation is in the billions now, and Cruise has made huge strides in
this part is
autonomous
kind of
vehicles,
relevant.
but
Video
it
came out
also
before.
faced challenges, including a suspension of operations
We'll
in
skip
October
ahead a little bit.
So when for your safety, take off your seatbelt in the middle of the ride.
Cruise recently got to resume public road testing.
So when you do something like take off your seatbelt in the middle of the ride, a voice comes on and says, hey, put on your seatbelt, this is for your safety, and if not, we may call for a human to come and check in on you and see what's going on. And it kind of reminds me of like being reprimanded by a teacher, like, hey, if you don't follow the rules, the principal is going to come. All right, but how does this actually work from a technology standpoint?
Self-driving cars use sensors, cameras, and smart software to drive themselves on road. See, cameras see lanes, traffic lights, and other cars, while radar measures distances and finds things in the way. The software takes all this info and decides how to steer, speed up, and slow down, just like a good human driver would.
So the difference is with Waymo and Tesla specifically, Tesla ditched the LiDARs. They're trying to do their autonomous system purely on cameras, which is significantly cheaper than relying on this technology, which is why Tesla's like claiming regular Uber and Lyft drivers will be able to just put their cars on the road that they already own to do robotaxi stuff. So that's kind of one of the differences. There are some limitations to that. And right now, I think Waymo, I would trust a Waymo more than I would a Tesla right now. I think Tesla has more data, maybe, but Waymo has more sensors that make me feel safe.
These cars also connect to the internet and use GPS to find their way. This helps them get real-time traffic news, know about road conditions, and even talk to other cars or traffic signals. See, being online helps them make better decisions and work more efficiently.
So there's a fire truck or an ambulance.
And in emergencies, they can even react to signals or ambulances or police cars that move out of the way or stop safely. All these features make self-driving cars smarter and better at handling the changes on the road.
We had a fire truck coming by, and it just pulled over very eloquently and said, hey, we gotta yield to this emergency vehicle. Okay, so it says finding a spot to pull over.
Governments around the world are trying to figure out the best rules for these special cars. And one big question is, who is responsible if a strike...
Here's what I'll say. With the Trump administration coming in, expect to see much less regulation for these, especially with Elon being like part of his team. And traditionally speaking, Trump being pro less regulation. And he literally said, anyone who has like $1 billion will like throw all the regulations out for you. Like I'm not making, I want to make sure I'm co-signing what I'm saying, because I don't want you guys to think I'm being biased or making things up. Trump $1 billion regulation. I think this is like something paywall. Well, let's do Fox News, because I just want to make sure you guys know I'm not like trying to be biased or anything like that. It says Trump makes vow to anyone who invests $1 billion or more in the U.S. Any person, company investing $1 billion or more in the United States of America will receive fully expedited approvals and permits, including, but no way limited to, all environmental approvals, Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform on Tuesday, adding, "Get ready to rock." Shortly after entering the Oval Office, I don't even think we need to read all of this, but there it is. I'm not making it up. And the most recent video I made discussing how Trump would affect rideshare drivers, I think that the lack of regulations will benefit Uber and Lyft as companies more than they will us as drivers.
Car crashes. Is it the car company? Is it the software makers? Or the person who owns the car? The person who was sitting in that Uber self-driving car was supposed to be monitoring. But what happens when there is no human in the car?
This is a really good question. I know I'd be interested in trying Tesla's rideshare business when they come out. The thing that would bother me is I don't want to be held responsible for what my car does while it's self-driving. That's the biggest concern I have. I would hate to throw my life away and go to jail because my car hit someone. So I would need to see an example of what happens when it happens to someone else, or I would need to see the laws surrounding it. Because if I'm going to go to jail, I want it to be for something I decided to do, whether it was a mistake or on purpose, but I don't want to go to jail because of a self-driving car. And the example that they provided here, the lady, like I said, she was literally watching videos while she was supposed to be paying attention. So I agree with jail time for her. I do, based off of that. But I just don't know what it will look like when cars are driving themselves without people sitting in them, without a driver sitting in them.
Really impressive that it can even navigate a very narrow two-way street where it's very difficult for two cars to be on the same street. So it doesn't always technically follow the rules exactly. Like it will go onto another lane. If you think about it, so do humans. So that's probably a good thing.
In the US, regulations on self-driving cars are overseen by NHTSA at the federal level. It gives guidelines for automated driving systems, and they focus on ensuring safety for these vehicles. But these regulations are still developing, and states also have their own set of rules too.
It's really fascinating the vision it has. Like you see the things that it can see up ahead.
In the Trump era, we'll probably have to like pay attention to the state. So one, Tesla has already said they're going to launch in like Miami and Texas because the regulations there at the state level are already so lax. So expect to see rideshare companies to first offer autonomous driving services in similar places that have laxed regulation when it comes to self-driving cars. So if you live in one of those places, you're probably on the list of places to come to first.
Or on the left or right. And it's like, how can the cameras detect that there's a person so far up ahead on the left or down the road that there's like a garbage truck coming, things like that. It's really fascinating. So what does this mean for the future of drivers?
Let's look to Wuhan in China that has self-driving cars everywhere. So these are done by Baidu. And 5 years ago, I actually saw them.
Baidu is the Google version, the Chinese version of Google, like literally a search engine. And I guess a technology company now.
Testing these and got to ride one.
So we're making turns and notice, just like a roller coaster, no hands.
By the end of the year, there will be 1,000 of these cars on the streets of Wuhan. With China's insanely fast adoption of new technology, this is expected to cause huge changes. See, these rides here can be as cheap as 50 cents, and many people are already saying they will never need to buy a car again. Meanwhile, one person commented on a viral video that driving schools, road inspectors, and taxis are all going to shut down. The rise of self-driving cars could have been...
That might happen in China. Even getting a car in China is pretty difficult. Not just financially, because of their overpopulation, you have to like wait to get a license plate. It's something weird. Not too sure on it. I don't think that'll happen in America. America's too car centric. But I don't expect Uber and Lyft to lower prices for customers just because self-driving cars are cheaper than humans. They're too greedy for that. So I don't see it having a strong impact on whether people or not have cars or not in America. Maybe certain cities, but I don't really see that having a large impact here.
Big effects on jobs in the economy. See, it's bringing in new jobs in engineering and computer science, but at the same time, it will mean way fewer jobs for truck drivers and taxi drivers. Self-driving cars could also help the economy by cutting down on traffic jams and letting people use their time more efficiently. But to make these benefits happen, we'll need to invest a lot in things like roads and city planning and just the general adoption of new technology.
So this is a bit frustrating. I just ordered this car, but I can't communicate and say, hey, it's me. It says, no, the pickup is over there. So I got to move out of the way so he can go, and then I have to walk and get in the car.
That's annoying.
Maybe the next version of it is going to have
But what? Some drivers do that too.
facial recognition or something. So it can be like, hey, it's Upton. Oh God, don't make me walk up this hill. All right, I am not going to tip. So now it's saying, hey, we'll wait for 2 minutes. It's time to get in the car. It's
2-minute wait time. That's really low. If you're on Lyft, it's 5 minutes. If you're on Uber, I think it's 7.
actually quite dystopian to see these driving cars without humans inside them. On the backdrop of San Francisco, which has such a crisis of mental illness and homeless people, it's really, really weird to see something like so much from the future, but then the city is struggling with this big crisis and this big problem. And same with Los Angeles too, which also has Waymo now. Something I find quite interesting is that the digital screen on the top of the Waymos can actually be used for anything. So it says my initials before I get in. So I can be sure that, hey, this car is for me. The screen on top of the car, sometimes if the Waymo is at a stoplight or a red light, it'll just show a pedestrian. Now, why is it doing that? It's actually serving a purpose and providing value to, let's say, people behind the car or either other pedestrians on the street. It's saying, hey,
I want to see the screen he's talking about. It looks like he's looking at it, but he's not like pointing his camera at it.
hey, this car has stopped because there's a pedestrian in front of it. And that's really cool when you think about it, because right now cars, when you put on your brakes, there's red lights to inform the person behind you, hey, I'm slowing down, so you better slow down
Oh, he's talking about the screen right there in the front. Sorry, I misunderstood.
too. But now you think about what screens can do for the future of driving and actually provide potentially more value. Now, how important is that? that's probably up for debate. It can be a little bit annoying, like we pulled into the parking lot and it's like, all right, I want to go into this building, let me out. It doesn't understand voice commands, so it kind of went through the whole parking lot, made a right turn, and now it's letting me out. So sometimes little things like that might be a little frustrating. But what happens if you stand in front
That's one thing I guess human drivers can do pretty well.
of a self-driving car? Will it honk? Will it move? What's it gonna do? For every second I stand here, it's actually costing the company money because this is a moment that it could be used to pick up other passengers. My cameraman is also blocking the other lane. So let's just see how smart this thing is. I'm actually surprised it hasn't honked yet. It might be calling rider support. So it's been a few minutes now. Okay, you win. So now what the future of self-driving cars is gonna look like, but I wanna know, what do you think? Is this a future and how is it?
All right, so pretty good video. Go check out this guy's channel. Very well edited, very well spoken, very well researched. He literally drove to China. His name is Upton. Oh, he's actually a CNBC journalist. I didn't know that. A former. Like he just started his own thing. It's pretty good.